Welcome to the Growth and Banter podcast. My name is Blake Micola, CEO and founder of GMS Media Group, one of Australia's leading digital advertising agencies. This podcast is for anyone looking to learn the insights and strategies of industry leaders and how to build and live a successful life. Today, we're joined by my childhood neighbour, Angus Mullane, and he's going to share his insights of building Australia's biggest creative agency, Jack Nimble, exiting that, and his new venture, Sub 3. I hope you enjoy. Welcome, Angus.
Thanks, Blake.
Good to have you here, mate. I know you've been up to a lot lately, and I want to start off, though, by acknowledging the fact that we were neighbours basically our whole childhood, growing up together. And I think this is one of the first opportunities, or maybe second. I think I've had to sit down with you once to talk shop, but one of the main opportunities I've had to sit down and actually talk about family, business, and life in general. And yeah, you've had a phenomenal career so far, still at a young age. You're now a dad as well. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
And yeah, let's start off by talking about some of the things you've been up to with Jack Nimble. I know Jack Nimble being one of Australia's best and leading creative agencies. You've done an exit with Jack Nimble recently, and you're just now starting on a new venture, Sub 3, which is all about performance fuel and marathons, which I don't know a heap about. So I'd love to just dive into what got you started into that entrepreneurial journey, and obviously starting Jack Nimble and now your next venture.
For sure. So I guess starting out, I always had a bit of an entrepreneurial drive. It could have been from my dad. My dad was ex-footy player turned entrepreneur.
Shout out, Greg.
Yeah. Did some really random things in his life, random projects that took him all around the world. And yeah, I think that probably rubbed off on me, the fact that you could really just, whatever you dreamt up, you could kind of attack and go for and try and achieve. And so yeah, from a young age, I wasn't really that smart. I really feared school. I dropped maths. My dad was a mathematician. He was a math teacher.
Was he?
Not a mathematician.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Same thing, isn't it?
I didn't get in higher.
Okay.
Shout out, didn't get in.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was super intelligent guy, real business savvy. And I was the opposite. I was more creative. I actually left Cronulla kind of halfway through high school to kind of move more into the creative industry. So I went to a performing arts high school to study acting, and then I fell into film. So that my early start was very kind of creative led and not really that business kind of led. I guess I get that from my mum's side. I've obviously been doing a lot of work lately, just trying to kind of uncover where, who I am, I guess. And you've got to kind of look back at your parents and your upbringing, and definitely they've both rubbed off on me, and they haven't rubbed up on me. Let me just make that clear to your audience. But yeah, so I started at performing arts school, went to film school.
Yeah.
And when I left film school after 2 years, I really wanted to be a filmmaker. I was broke, right? So I was dating my wife at the time, who is my wife now. I think I was 19 when I graduated. And I remember we were driving up to the Gold Coast, and I had no more money to spend on the trip. I was like, we've got to go home. I've got no money. And so on that trip back, I was kind of devising in my head, how am I going to make money so I can kind of support my lifestyle? And so I started making videos for startups. And within that world, I got really interested in the whole pitching and kind of spending a weekend at a hackathon and just creating something and launching it into the world. So I did that myself. I founded an app back in the day, an iPhone app, when I was 19.
I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah. So probably would have got cancelled in this day and age, maybe.
What was it again?
So it was back in the day when filter apps were really kind of new, and you know, I mean, they exist everywhere now, like with TikTok. But back in the day where you had like fat booth and ugly booth, and you take photos of yourself and you'd make yourself old or fat or this and that. And I was at a pitch convention and I had this idea about like abs, like giving you instant abs. And when I was in the line about to go on stage, someone's like, bro, like that exists. It's called Abstagram. I don't know.
As you were getting on stage.
Yeah. So I had to like think of something really quickly when I went onto stage. And then I was like, okay, abs. What's the opposite to abs? Pregnant. So I got up there and I said, look, what's a massive problem today is teen pregnancy. And we've got to stop that by showing these kids what they look like pregnant. And obviously it was a joke. And within that weekend, I had an investor come up to me straight after who loved loved the energy I brought and kind of the pitch, and gave me $5,000 to build it.
Yeah, wow.
Developer came up and we basically built it within the weekend. And I guess I added the element of like marketing to it, and so I created all the videos for it that kind of went a little bit viral. And kind of when we launched, it went front page of the Sun in the UK. I appeared on the morning show to talk about it, to debate it actually with a mothers group. That was terrifying. And then it kind of just took this kind of viral hit. It actually went number 1 in 5 countries. It got up to number 4 in the US. So that's for a paid app. So it's not just this free app people are downloading, it's a paid app. So it's that extra bit to kind of get them interested in that. So that was super exciting. But yeah, definitely ruffled some feathers.
Yeah, pretty interesting how you've been able to just think quickly and go on and do a pitch. Like that's like doing a pitch in like with what you know is already quite nerve-wracking, let alone coming up with something on the fly and then delivering that and then actually fulfilling it. And I'm sure that probably highlights like your creative genius inside of you, being able to come up with things, which I'm sure it has to happen sometimes spontaneously. Talk us through that sort of process of how you came to realize that you had that internally.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've got acting school to thank for that. And I think everybody who is interested in being a founder or a business leader should definitely, try out and play with improvisation, like do a course. I forced my team into doing it at our retreat when I built Jack Nimble.
Force culture.
Yeah, because, I think what's really, acting's a funny thing. There's a lot of strange elements of acting, and it's kind of, it's very ego driven and everything. But what I really loved about it was just the playfulness of being able to step in a room and come up with ideas on the spot. And that's what, I really enjoyed at performing arts school, the idea that you could like be on the spot, someone throws you something and you build on it. It's the whole yes and kind of thing. And I think that really built kind of my collaboration as well. But yeah, just coming up with ideas on the spot. And then once you kind of get a bit of understanding of like business, you can kind of merge the two and kind of, I'm always coming up with ideas. I'm building things all the time, and I can't like on the weekends, not that I can't sit still and can't like take a break, but it excites me. There's something about coming up with those ideas on the spot. There's like that thrill and adrenaline that comes with that. And so I think that's a really exciting skill to continue on. And I'd love to see you do some improv, Blake.
I'll do my best. I'll talk you through what I've got planned. Do a little pitch-a-thon. It obviously runs in the blood though, because like I used to always see you guys, when you're brothers, you're one of 4 with Tyson, Jack and Josh. All of you have that creative flair, Tyson was always quite talented at everything he did, and same as Jack, and with rugby and that, and piano, fantastic at that, and same with Josh, guitarist, music. Like you've all got that in your blood. It's obviously inherent in the family. Like where does that stem from?
I think that comes from, so our parents took us all out of school for 2 years to travel around Australia in a caravan. My brothers were homeschooled, so they kind of learnt on the street. They learnt in caravan parks how to communicate to other kids. There's pros and cons about it. One, it was the most epic trip. My dad filmed a lot of it, which was epic. So we get to kind of watch.
I remember watching that. I remember I was supposed to always be at each other's houses, and I remember watching the VC, the tape, and watch you guys around Australia. It was cool. It's
cool. And going back to what I said earlier about like unpacking kind of like your identity, like again, like that's definitely, I think, helped shift a lot of like, you know, the paths of my brothers being in really creative industries and being like taking kind of a lot more unconventional paths. You know, they're not accountants, they're not finance people. They don't have full-time jobs. I think I'm the only one that did.
And yet it's still unconventional.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the around Australia thing, my parents got them to journal every day, and you know, back then they didn't have like essentially, you know, Instagram or anything, but it's a shame because my brothers met so many people, yet they fell out of connection because they didn't see them. But when they came back, I think to school, it was really hard to integrate because they were so like worldly and had so much like street smarts that couldn't really kind of connect probably as much as growing up the whole way through the school system.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Like even we're from Cronulla, like it's quite a community centric town, right? Like, and it's a bubble in itself.
Yeah.
Let alone being in another beach town, like it's still very much from a Sydney beach point of view, it's very much a bubble. Yep. And of course you've got more regional areas that even are way more isolated. But it's interesting because if you're in that one area, going to school in that one area, you don't even know. Like I used to think going to the city when we were younger was like just such an untapped world, let alone you guys traveling the whole of the country, which most people don't do in their lives. You know, we fly and don't even see what's in between it. Yeah. So yeah, that's interesting. Like having that culture, growing up quicker, and then trying to get indoctrinated back into a system that everyone's following.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, there's downsides to it too, though. You know, like it's really hard to show people that on your CV.
Yeah,
I think now it's a lot more accepted and more interesting, which I'm sure we can talk about later about like recruitment and stuff like that. But I think it's kind of exciting for people to have an interesting path, and the world has so opened up since then. In terms of like anyone can launch a business, anyone can use AI and like create whatever they want, whatever they dream up, even if they don't have the skills, because someone else can kind of help facilitate that too. So it's a really exciting time, I think, where people don't need this conventional path and they can be really different and out there.
100%. It's almost better to do what you've done today in today's economy with the opportunity we've got on our phones and computers than it is to follow the conventional path, unless you are a numbers person and you do want to take that path of climbing the corporate ladder. You know,
and shout out to those people.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take my hat off.
Yeah, I wish I could. You know, I tried my best in year 2.
I failed accounting and finance, so I'm not a numbers man.
Yeah, well, I cried for many times during maths class. It created so much anxiety for me. You know, I would call in sick every day. Like Wednesday would happen. And I learned at the hard way. You know, one time I thought, okay, I'm gonna and sorry, Mum, I said I'm gonna cheat on this test.
Who hasn't?
Oh yeah, but I cheated on the maths test, and I was sitting next to the ducks of the school next to me, and I had a watch on, which again, so smart of me. So I was like Mission Impossible-ing it. I kind of used the reflection to kind of see his answers. I wrote every answer.
No way.
And it was year 6, and then they were grading it, and they sent me into the advanced maths class. And the first 10 seconds of the maths class, they asked everyone to get up. And they said, okay, we're doing multiplication kind of formulas at us. And I literally shat my pants. Like it was so intense. I'm like, what have I done? Like, I'm never cheating again, because this is not what I wanted to do. I didn't want to end up here. You know, I just wanted to be good at math.
It's like lying about a job and you get into the job and you just fail straight away.
Exactly.
Don't fake it. You just got to be true to yourself.
Yeah. You know,
I had a similar experience. I got into extension English, and I think the first thing they told us to do was to read this book, and I wasn't a reader then at all. And then I just dropped back down to normal advanced English. I was like, I'm not like reading, so I just can't do this. Yeah.
It's all so tough.
It is hard.
I feel like it's a lot easier when you're older, you know, and I think just to say to our younger selves, like it kind of gets a little bit easier. It's not as scary when you're older. Not that I'm any better, but I don't know. There's something a bit more comforting about it.
So you've got this like, you know, sort of birthing your identity, obviously due to the exit you've had with your previous company, Jack Nimble, which is quite a famous creative agency that you built from the ground up. And yeah, now sort of removing yourself from that, finding your feet again. And, you know, that's obviously probably a interesting process to go through that, again, a lot of people don't go through. The fact you've done that quite graciously, or from the outside, it seems. And yeah, now you're on to your next challenge. Maybe let's dive into, you know, that experience with Jack Nimble and to where you are now.
The start of Jack Nimble?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So when I did the app, I got hit up by an ad agency, and they were like, hey, you make videos for startups, you do the same thing here, but for brands, you should come and be our social video guy. And so my first job was at DDB Sydney, which is one of the largest kind of ad agencies. I had no idea about what advertising was. I have no marketing degree whatsoever. But it was at the advent of, like, you know, when I graduated film school, video had come so far on the internet. Our internet speeds were getting fast enough. The definition of video was going up. Like, it was this perfect kind of timing where I knew my way around a camera. I was like a one-man band. I shoot, I edit, I do sound, I could do it all. And so I was like this perfect little kind of predator for that's a producer editor, by the way, not like another predator. And so
I thought the latter.
Yeah. So I got hired there, and I basically shot all the content for, like, you know, Telstra, Macca's, Eclipse, Tim Tam. I learned a shitload, you know, from that time, and not only just on the tools, but a lot about, to be honest, a lot about culture, and a lot about, like, team dynamics, and like, understanding, like, how a business works, and, you know, what was cool and what was not cool. And then after that, I was there for a year. I got hit up by another company called One Green Bean. And it was a more senior position. And I actually turned it down because I didn't think I was senior enough. I think at the time I was probably, I don't know, 22 maybe. And I'd only been in the ad world for like a year. And this recruiter was like, no, like, your CV is like, this is what they want. This is what they need. Just go and meet them. And so I was like, oh, okay, I'm really feeling out of my depths, but I will. So I went and had a meeting, and it was awesome.
It's like maths all over again.
Yeah. And then I got there, and it was epic. The people were great, and I got interviewed by a guy called James, who you'll hear about a bit later. But they, I was basically replacing this guy, James McInnes, who was leaving, and they split his role into two people. So I took one side of his role, and then another guy took a different side. And yeah, that was the One Green Bean era, which was where I learned a lot about building culture and great culture, and kind of same thing, but on a bigger level in terms of my role. I was kind of creating hundreds of pieces of content every day, every week. But I was paired up with a guy called Adam Wise. And so we became this kind of like unconventional creative duo. In ad agencies, you have usually, you have an art director and a copywriter. He was a kind of photographer. I was a filmmaker. So wasn't really the same, but he was a great writer. I was kind of a very visual person. So in a sense, that's what we were, but we were kind of like the modern version of that. And so, yeah, we bounced off together really well. He had already been there for, I think, like 4 years. And so we came in to it together. And then after a year, this social thing was kind of becoming a massive thing at the time. But no one was really taking it seriously. So, they were creating these big TV campaigns, and they're like, oh, yeah, let's just do a cut down for social. Just cut it up, make it vertical, and put it out. And we're like, that's interesting. There's such a, no one wants to watch a TVC on social. You just got to really put yourself in your own shoes when you're using the platforms and think, what do I actually consume? And people were consuming, what we kind of coined as fast craft, like, this kind of fast, scrappy, but high quality content that you could pump out quickly. And so we saw a gap in the market. We're like, what doesn't exist? Because One Green Bean was like a PR agency. not a content company. And we were just a very small part of this business. And we thought, there needs to be a kind of social first content agency. And so I left first. I was like, I'm going to go kind of try this out.
So you had the aha moment. You're like, I'm going to go and pursue my own thing.
Yeah, I think there was a shoot Adam and I were on. Like, we'd do some silly videos. I remember one video we were doing, I think it was for Virgin Mobile, and we created the longest selfie stick. And it was just us. We'd go down to Rush Cutters. We literally taped together like 20 pool cleaner sticks, and duct taped a phone at the end of it, filmed the whole thing, and then we lifted this thing up into the air. It was hilarious. It was like bending all over Rush Cutters. Took a snap, and I think at that moment we're like, we should just go out and do this ourselves, but make it like this is the thing. And so we both kind of he made me a bit elaborate, which I'm fine with. So I went out and created a little kind of social agency to see if I could kind of stir up some excitement around it. And the real big change happened when I went to a wedding, and I sat next to an old friend of mine, Ellie, and she was the head of marketing at Coates Hire.
I think we're mutual friends with Ellie.
Yes.
Yeah, so I remember she was saying, what you're getting up to. This was probably, how long ago is this? We're talking, 6 years ago, maybe? 8 years ago? Yeah. When you were going through that process? Yeah.
So Ellie's again from the Shire, represent.
Go the Shire.
And so, when I sat down next to her and she's like, what are you up to these days? I go, I left my agency to basically start a social agency. And she's like, oh my God, we need someone to do our socials. They suck. I'm doing them at the moment. I'm like, of course, I'll help you out. So Coates Hire became kind of the founding client of Jack Nimble. And I hit up Adam. I was like, dude, we've got this opportunity. It's probably time to leave now. And he was a bit concerned because he started at One Green Bean as an intern. And so he never knew anything else. So he had to take a big risk. He was married, he had a mortgage. So credit to him. He had a good chat with his wife and he said, if not now, when? So he kind of left and he brought Westfield, which was awesome because we were both kind of coming together with our own kind of clients and kicking off there. So
that's some pretty incredible clients to start with on the roster.
Yeah, it was insane. So he just, from a mutual friend again, like just really good kind of relationships over the years. And that need of social first content. Westfield gave us a start to shoot the winter campaign. That was our first shoot as Jack Nimble. And it went terribly. It was amazing, but it was amazing on the surface, but deep down we were freaking out. It was Westfield, and we were just
fuck that up.
We were two like early 20-year-olds. Maybe Adam was early 40s then. That was a joke. He's older than that. So we did our first Westfield shoot, and we thought Jack Nimble wouldn't last the week. It was everything that could go wrong went wrong.
From the world's longest selfie stick to Westfield.
Yeah,
that's a new book.
Yeah, true. And so it was a tough shoot, but we kind of showed up the next day and we thought, let's just keep pushing and keep trying to see where this goes. And I think what kind of got us through was just that relentless passion that we had about social first content, and it really blew up from there.
And I'm experiencing this right now. Like we've got we're sort of more in the analytical side of marketing than the creative side of it, but we see a lot of TVC style assets get put to us to then run on socials
still
so it's still happening.
Yeah.
So like it's not. And you're right, like there's a disconnect. And I used to always think this when I was, running ads for small businesses and, we're very founder-led focused, is that there's still a massive opportunity for the big players. They're still not doing it well enough. And I think that's because there is so much red tape and still so much emphasis on the traditional way of doing business because there's probably traditional heads running the show at those corporations. But yeah, it's interesting to sort of that you found that gap, probably a decade ago, and there's still so much adoption to be had online, you know, and as a society, we are slow to adopt things.
Yeah.
The secret sauce that goes into production, I guess, from a Jack Nimble point of view, and you know what you sort of built up in the beginning. What is the key thing there, do you think?
Yeah, so I guess it was that, like, I think it's really important to find your USP and like own that and make that everything. You know, we were called Jack Nimble, which comes from the nursery rhyme, Jack be nimble, Jack be quick. And we were quick and we were nimble, we were agile, we were faster than anyone else. And not in a way that was rough around the edges, but like high quality, fast content, delivered cost efficiently. And I think that was definitely the secret sauce of what we did. But also, as I said, like creating social first content. So it's all about crafting things for the platform. So thinking about the channels and how people use them. And Instagram is very different to YouTube. YouTube is very different to TV. And the way you just kind of consume those is so different. And so they need their own way of concepting for. And so we not only just like, you know, we're trying to shift like the TVC edits, we were trying to shift the whole process. So we were coming up with ideas that were socially led. So hooking people in the first 3 seconds, shooting for vertical, you know, being very platform specific. So being very purposeful in the way we kind of shape the content for the different channels. From that part all the way through to shooting it, and like, you know, sound on, all that kind of stuff, introducing supers and titles. Like this is 10 years ago.
And it's all still relevant.
Yeah. And it's gone through a few different like shifts and changes, but it's definitely kind of still at the crux of it is that kind of, you know, it's really like attention spans are just getting shorter.
Yeah.
So it's just dialing that in even further and further. And kind of the one value that came out of Jack Nimble, and I bashed everyone's heads over with this value, which at Jack Nimble, which was make every second count. And that was kind of our whole belief system at Jack Nimble. And it lasted us for 10 years. And it was all about making every second count with the content, with the client experience, with, you know, you spend half your life at work, so you want to make it count here. So work ethic was a massive thing. We wanted people that were super passionate, you know, and matched our energy and wanted to just like, I would walk to work and I'd walk past a construction site in the heat and people like jackhammering, like, you know, into concrete, so loud, sweaty, all this. And I'm like, I get to walk into the office and shoot stuff on my phone and like have fun, like bottle that up. And that's what we're selling to clients. We're selling like the experience of, you know, just that energy and that fun. And that kind of ties back to making every second count. And clients loved it. You know, we would do pitches where other teams that weren't even involved in the response from the client side would come and sit in just to kind of be a part of the experience of the pitch, because we made it fun. Like we didn't want it to be we didn't want to be a traditional production company. We really wanted to flip all of it on its head. And I think we did a really good job of that.
Yeah, no, I remember even some of the behind the scenes stuff you guys did was different. You look at it, you go, that's a different way of shooting content. It's not your general stand there, shoot content, here's a script. And what you're saying with like splitting up the focus per social, YouTube, or even now it's probably more splitting it between the social mediums are now even more splintered, you know, like you said, Instagram's different to even TikTok, as is YouTube, as is, you know, everything else. With say the size of a project like a Westfield or a Coates Hire, would you come in with the intention of going, this is going to be across these mediums and TVC, and then have that storyboard sort of have the output across those, or would you do different storyboards for each medium?
Yeah, I mean, budget.
How far does the budget stretch?
Yeah, because really, like you could dial it in, really kind of tailor it for every platform, but it depends how much the budget.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is. And because we want to give every channel like the best kind of polish that we can for that channel. But, I shout out, our early clients like Westfield, for example, that shoot that I'm talking about. We would call it piggybacking, where they would have a big TVC campaign, and rather than them just get that and shoot, edit like vertical segments of it, they would get us to piggyback off the back of the shoot. And in between the schedule where they were shooting like a big scene, we would run in with our cameras and we'd shoot like quick little boomerangs and socials and like stop motions and move this like here and here.
Yeah.
And it was just this super fun content that like, a lot of the times outperformed all the other stuff because it was just so different. Again, it stood out in the feeds. It was thumb stopping. It was all those things that make really great social content. So yeah, those kind of piggyback moments were super fun, super high stress, but you'd have like 5 minutes to, again, think on the spot. You'd plan a few things out, but you'd think on the spot and like create some bespoke content for the platforms.
Yeah. So good. And taking the team through the journey, wouldn't have been an easy feat as well. And I know there's not everything, you probably can't share everything, but like from its inception to then going through that partnership with Sparrow, to then going through, that exit, how important was it to, that sort of make every second count value? How important was that to like maintain that, to stay on track through that entire process of shifting environments, shifting partnerships, and shifting focus?
Yeah, it was like integral to the success of the earn out and the growth and scale of Jack Nimble. We weren't looking to sell. We it's funny actually. Adam received an email that he thought was spam, so he disregarded it. And then I think Sawiki.
Yeah.
He was relentless in his pursuits and finally took Adam out for some Vegemite on toast and said, "Hey, I've got someone interested in you guys."
How Australian.
Very Australian. He's a surfer dude, right?
Yeah.
And so, they're like, "Look, why don't you just meet them? I'll set up a kind of date for you guys." And we met them. They were great guys. It was revealed they were Sparrow. It was a family-run business. The mum did the accounting, the dad did the IT, which is always a great kind of start.
Yeah.
And they just really loved what we did. And most importantly, we complemented what they did as well, and vice versa. The data was always our blind spot as we grew Jack Nimble. So we knew we could, we set out to make the best social content in Australia, then hopefully the world. But on that journey, like we knew we made the best content. But within that, to kind of quantify that is, how do you actually, what is the return for the client? Because if we're going to get them to come back, we need to know like what this is driving for them. And so the data side of it was our blind spot that we could never really, nail. So that was a really nice kind of way. Like they came into the conversation as we were looking to expand that kind of area of our business. So it's really complementary. But what was more important was for us to retain our brand, Jack Nimble. We had such strong brand equity in the market, and we didn't want to change our name. We didn't want to change.
Did they propose that?
No, not at all. They were very respectful. They knew how important the brand was in the market, and like how much brand love we had. And so I think that was probably the best decision they made, was to keep that. And find other ways to kind of connect the two. So yeah, make every second count was something that stayed with us that whole time and became even something that I think as a group business Sparrow took on as well.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. How good. I'm sure you've had like over the past year heaps of time to reflect on the past decade. It probably seems like a bit of a whirlwind of a process, and then simmering off and being able to sort of have a bit of time off, hiatus, everything you've been up to over the past year, and chill out a little bit. In reflection, what was like you feel the biggest lesson over that period?
Yeah, I mean, many lessons, many different ones.
Yeah.
Some that come to my head, I guess, for people who are listening that are like interested in maybe making a sale or an exit, is to as I just said, like find a business that's complementary.
Yeah.
I think it's so important with acquisitions. I've heard many horror stories and we didn't have that. And I think it was down to obviously good people, but secondly, like they didn't do what we did. So we weren't like forced to bring on new process of how we do creative things. And I've heard other companies that are creative agencies acquiring other creative teams and like they just clash. And it's just like our retention rate was incredible for those, you know, that sale period. And that's just a shout out to like having very kind of, you know, complementary skills. So that's one lesson. Another, I guess, just as a founder is like, you know, there's so many ups and downs, but people do look to you for that comfort. And I think you've got to really maintain, you know, your calm, you know, your calmness, your, you know, your stress and all those things. I think you've really got to be able to navigate through those a lot better, because I think that just really reflects off on the team. So that's super important. We went through some really tough stages of like scaling a business called Jack Nimble is kind of at odds with each other.
True.
Know? So we were meant to be fast, small, quick, and then we became 35 people.
Yeah.
And
which is not small anymore.
No, and moving fast as we, you know, wanted to continue to do as we were 2 people, me and Adam, just running around on set shooting things, was really challenging. And I think that was our biggest challenge to overcome. And I think we did it really well. But that came with a lot of stress. And I think it's really important for founders to guard their team from that, but also be vulnerable and share like when things aren't doing, you know, you're not doing well. I think that's really important, but definitely not like rubbing your stress off on others is key too.
Yeah, fuck, that is very key. Like, I'm sure
fact.
Yeah, fact. So Cronulla coming out at me. I've had so many instances early stage, younger, where you let the emotions get in the way, whether that is responding to an email too quickly or knee jerking and picking up the phone. And, you know, like you got to have time to, and also like bringing in external stresses into the business. Like you can see how much that impacts the flow of the team. If you're bringing this negative, stressful energy in, all of a sudden that room is filled with that energy, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's why recruitment's so like key as well. Like when you're scaling to 35, it's like those hires are super important because it's at that stage where dynamics start to form and politics, which you can't control a lot of the time, which is really like you hear things and you're like, what the hell? I thought and you do miss and kind of reminisce of the days where it was like 4 or 5 people in a small office that you knew what everyone was doing. You knew we all went out to lunch together and we kind of knew what everyone got up to. But then when you're at 35 and there's content going out that you haven't even seen.
Yeah, wow.
I mean, it's exciting as well because that's where you want to get to. You want to get to a point where you have the trust in the team that stuff goes out. But yeah, recruiting people, I would say, is like super, super key to get that right as you scale.
Yeah. I'm experiencing a similar thing. Not that we've done what you've done. We're doing it in a bit more of a backwards way, sharing an office with another agency that's complementary in the web and tech space, which is good for us because everything we do is metric driven through advertising. You know, piecing that together. And I'm starting to see conversations and meetings and people walk in. I'm like, no, I don't know who you are. And like there's, you know, lunch and learns going on. And I sort of step in. I'm like, I have no idea what they're talking about, you know, and it's cool. It's like all of a sudden, I'm not directing everything and I'm learning stuff. And I also feel a bit like fish out of water with other stuff as well. And there's like a sense of like having to lose that control in a business and something that you've created is a pivotal moment, and knowing when to like step back and just trust the process and let the team go. And nothing's ever going to be perfect, right? There's going to be people that come in and out that aren't a fit, and it's going to continue to be fires in any service-based business, but you sort of got to take the good with the bad. And so long as it's all mostly good, then you can keep steaming ahead.
Yeah. I think that's what people don't realize as well is like service-based businesses is time, and it's your time, and it's real, you know, you've only got a finite amount of time.
Yeah.
So scaling that it gets pretty intense. So in our final year, we did 10.7 mil in revenue. And you know, when we look at our kind of average budget for clients, sometimes they're like 30,000 or 50,000. We were doing some big kind of TVCs throughout and that where we got to in the end, which was kind of a funny flip on where we started.
Yeah, wow.
But yeah, that average budget kind of equals to something like, a shoot every day or every business day at
Crazy.
least.
It's a lot.
And so just kind of controlling that and maintaining that is a pretty wild thing to do. And there's always going to be chaos. And I hear like our team are now like going on to do amazing things at other places. And it's funny, they just say everywhere's chaos, and they miss some of that Jack Nimble kind of culture, and which is the biggest compliment you can ever receive.
You must see stuff pop up with, the team and just be like proud dad.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, that's all legacy, man. Like that's so cool. Like, and as I mentioned, I said James, the other who I replaced at One Green Bean, we ended up hiring him very early on as our head of social, but now he's like the managing director of Jack Nimble. So he's the one sailing it further into the future, and that's super cool to see. And Haley as well, who was our first employee. They're both together kind of leading the charge for that next era. And so, yeah, I'm definitely a proud dad looking on being like, you. I'm trying not to comment on everything because I don't want to look like the kind of stage mom, but I love it. It's awesome.
Tie your shoelaces up. It's funny you say that. I was at an event yesterday with Neil Perry. It was like a networking Q&A lunch at Gran Torino, which used to be Songbird. It was just coincidental that he changed Songbird to Gran Torino. It was booked already, but prior to that for Songbird. And yeah, he was sort of saying, he's 68 and still like doing 12-hour plus days, and still working pretty much every day.
Yeah.
And he was like, someone asked at the end of his talk, like, what's like, how do you sort of have a day off? What's sort of the next step for him? And he's managing 400 people within that one precinct across like only 3 or 4 venues.
Yeah. Wow.
And yeah, he said something similar. It's like he wants to be able to step away and it continue to run without him, sustainably and ethically. And, he's got a sense of care within his people. And, he needs to know that if he's in the kitchen, the same work ethic goes on the floor. And then he's building something that will last, generations to come without him. And I think that's very like a visionary mentality.
Yeah.
To be able to detach emotion away from your baby and actually have it so that it does operate without you and you don't have to be there.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think as well though, when you are there and you're in it as a founder, you should be like getting your hands dirty. Like
For sure.
You should be on the floor. I would throw myself at shoots where I was like, I think for 6 hours I'd be on the floor with a snorkel on. For a stop motion shoot, just like achingly just moving through pieces and jumping on edits whenever I could and like helping, just kind of being in it is so important. And then I think there's like that balance as, you get to a stage where you can pull back. But I think the team loves seeing that because you're not some overlord. You're someone who's like, you're side by side and you're kind of, you're riding the highs and the lows alongside them and not above them. Yeah,
you got to lead from the top. Otherwise, like, well, he's not here. Why should I do this? We actually, I learned that the hard way. In 2022, we, post-COVID, moved into an office and I delegated. So the last thing to delegate for me was sales. And then I delegated that away. And then I just started overseeing everything. And I wasn't really getting my hands dirty and the sales calls, the team. I was sort of more just going around and checking things here and there. It actually lost my spark and motivation for the whole business because I sort of made myself redundant, and it had an adverse effect. Like I had to unwind all of it after a year or 2 years and get back involved. And now I've got more motivation, with what we're doing now. But yeah, awesome. I think if you're there, you can't fully step away, and if you are, then like, you got to be looking at the next thing, don't check out of a hotel unless you got the next room booked.
Yeah. Once that passion goes, like that's the death of a company. Like
For sure.
You've got to retain that. And like some days you got to dig deep and find it, but like, that's what really pushes a company along and creates that momentum. It's just that relentless passion for what you're doing and like that deep belief in whatever it is you set out to do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting you said with Swicky too, what Swicky says with us is with any good partnership, he said there's 3 things: chemistry. So it's like, you think it's you think it's not that simple, but yeah, if you're not getting along with the other person, whether it's a team member or partner, it's not going to work, right?
Yeah, no, Adam and I, so obviously two co-founders of Jack Nimble, we met at work, which I think was a key thing. I know it can work with friends, but I would hate to have to see not see Adam on the weekend, but I'd hate to bring work into those social events and like put, if something was to go wrong, like to really kind of impact all your friendships and the way the dynamics of people, how they act. And I think when you're with a mate, like there's a different kind of respect.
Yeah.
And so it would be hard. Like, I think there's a lot of ego at play with mates. So it was great. We started as work partners, and we're like, we're so close, and we spent each day together for like 10 years. And chemistry is huge. I think him and I think like I adore Adam, and like I think I could say the same. He might adore me. But I think the team love to see that as well. Like, it's really like, it's a brotherly love that we have. And we both share very similar kind of approach to leadership. Like, we're very playful, and he's very sarcastic and very witty and funny. And we don't like to take it so seriously. And we would love to have fun with it, and not in a cringe way, but in a way that kind of makes it a workplace worth being at.
Yeah, that's key.
Yeah, I think it's so important.
Easy to lose that as well. You can get so trapped in the day-to-day, and things become pretty serious, and so hard to just like know when to balance that act. Yeah,
even with some like client briefs, like some people might get, turned off by the idea of like a construction hire brief. But we started with Coates Hire, and we made it so fun. We did mockumentaries with Eddie Betts, like the AFL. Great. Like, that was kind of an Office spin-off with him at a construction site, and it was hilarious, and it did so well. So there are ways to make those briefs fun and for the team. And I think it's about them finding the fun in every brief, no matter if it's for finance, like American Express, or whether it's for, something super dry, like construction hire or a roofing company. So yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Now you're sort of in a identity crisis now that you found yourself again.
Just turned into a counselling session. Finally.
Well, exiting that and then going through your rebirth of Sub 3.
Yeah,
is where I was getting at. How has it been, like, getting back onto what's next? What am I going to do with everything that you've learned and going through that process? Let's talk about your next venture.
Yeah, cool. Well, I think like when people sell a company, all the headlines are about, they sold for X amount, or they did this, or they exited, and it was, wonderful. Not many people talk about the next day. Because the next day,
what's next?
The next day is really quiet. Yeah. And you're refreshing your inbox. And
how was that next day?
It was good. I think I sat on the couch for a bit, and I was like, because you give everything back, like your laptop and all that, and I was like, I'm not gonna have a laptop for a while now. And I think an hour passed, and I'm like, I'm gonna go to Apple and get a laptop. Again, like coming back to that early stuff, like I just love building things. But no, look, it was interesting because not many people talk about like after the exits, and it was definitely a shift. I thought I was on leave for at least 3 months, because I was used to it. Was at the end of the year. I thought it was just Christmas holiday. I was going to have a holiday and I was going to come back to work, but I didn't come back. A few months pass, still not going back. I'm just up the road in my Surrey Hills place and just going, okay, cool. And during this time, I have to be working on something. Like it's just in my nature. Otherwise, I think I'd get too much head noise. So I was working on Sub 3, which is this new venture of mine, which is a performance fuel and recovery fuel for runners. It's something that I had in my mind for over 2 years. When I ran my first marathon, I collapsed. I ran out of fuel, and I always remember when I was training for it with my mate, he was mixing all these different kind of fuels and supplements together to get what we needed. And I was like, that's so interesting. There's no like all-in-one fuel for runners. You walk into a supplement store and 99% of everything is tailored for bodybuilders, yet runners burn more energy, they require more fuel, yet there's nothing tailored for them. This is outrageous. So that seedling of an idea was in my head for 2 years. And it was definitely something I was thinking about as I was moving out of Jack Nimble. I was like kind of getting excited again that I could start something completely fresh and new. And with the lens of like my background in content, make it a content first brand. And being brand side was super exciting to me because for so long I was agency, but now I get to see the other side of what, our kind of clients were going through and learning all that from the ground up. And so that was super exciting to me. I love learning new things. So, so after a while I started developing some formulas with like a sports dietitian and the kind of manufacturer. And we landed on a pre-run and a post-run kind of powder that people can take before and after a run. Before gives you energy to help with your endurance, and then after is to help recovery. So you don't collapse. So you don't collapse, and help your muscle repair and all that.
Yeah.
So the idea of Sub 3 was born. The name comes from the ambitious goal of a Sub 3 hour marathon, which I'm planning to try and achieve in 2 weeks' time at Sydney Marathon, which has been really difficult with navigating a newborn who's now 6 weeks. What are you
sitting at? What was your previous time?
Where I collapsed at 3 hours 38.
Okay.
So shaving off 38 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. How fun.
Just 38 minutes. No biggie.
Yeah. It's all the fuel. The fuel's going to get me there.
Yeah, wow.
Sub 3, baby.
You're going to be your own case study.
Yeah.
So good.
I'm the lab rat.
Yeah.
So that's super exciting to me. Like I get to learn a whole new brand side.
So cool. I have a paradox definitely with agency land. You get the benefit and the pro, and the reason why I think these podcasts are great as well, I'm able to bring on like lots of different walks of life and industries, is that you get exposed to lots of different industries and you end up learning a little about a lot, but you don't go really deep on one thing.
Yeah.
And I guess like it's funny, you see a lot of other I've met a lot of brand people who end up going agency, like more coaching, and they give their advice. So I guess it's like you can never really be that happy in one thing. As entrepreneurs and business owners, you're always looking for that next thing. But going really deep into one business versus doing one shoot a day, like that's a huge shift.
Yeah. I mean, what was great about Jack Nimble though is every day was different. So you would have like one day you'd be shooting a mockumentary with Eddie Betts, and then the next day you'd be flying around Australia shooting for Tourism Australia on the Great Barrier Reef, and then the next day you'd be shooting like a harrowing documentary about someone going through a lawsuit or something, and every day was different and fresh, or for Netflix on the doing something wild. So it was a super exciting time where this is a big shift because it's like one category. But the one thing I probably miss the most currently is like having that stimulation and fulfillment from walking into a team environment where you're bouncing off each other, you're jamming on ideas, you're kind of brainstorming, you're using those like improv techniques to kind of come up with ideas on the spot, where it's just you at a desk and for months on end chipping away at something, and you like
with a new laptop,
fresh new laptop, space gray, of course. And you finally, you sign your first ambassador, and you're like, yeah, man, awesome.
No one's cheering you on.
And then when it gets really shit, like you might, you get delays. Like, I've had like multiple delays. This should have launched at the start of the year. I was ready to go. Last year.
Yeah. You're ready to go the day after.
Pretty much, yeah. No, I'm quick off the start. Yeah. But all those delays, like riding those lows, you don't have that partner, you don't have the founder. Obviously I have my wife who's super supportive, but yeah, you do miss that team kind of environment. So I'm really looking forward to like making sales quickly so I can build out the team and have that start to kind of foster that culture again of like that exciting kind of workplace that you just want to, that gets you out of bed in the morning.
Yeah. And with any business, any new business particularly, like it's not a mandate that you need that personal brand identity, and I think that's been the biggest like gold rush right now online is like all this personal branding. I've even started having to jump into it. 10 years in business, and now
I don't know about it, but
I'm shooting. Yeah, it's like again, it's not necessary, but it does help. On the flip side of that, you've got you know, the advantage of having this creative skill set that I'm sure you're going to inject so much into sub 3 that a lot of other new brands don't have that luxury. So how important is it that you've got that, you know, experience and you know, deep skill set of creative to bring sub 3 to, you know, a reality?
Yeah, I think my goal is like, I think there are now competitors in the market. You know, I was slow off the mark because of the delays, but with other competitors out in the market, it's interesting. Like they are where I was likely going to go. So now I've got to think, how do I show up differently? And it's just like as Jack Nimble was. And I think any company and any brand, any product, any agency should always be thinking about how do they show up differently to anyone else out there. So that's kind of my new challenge for the brand is like, if people are going here, like go there and see what that kind of, you know, untaps.
Yeah. And when are you launching?
It's launched, man.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. Yep. Check it out.
Nice.
Run with sub 3 on Instagram and the website. You can follow along. Like I'll be, as you were just saying about that, about, you know, I feel like every founder has to be an influencer these days, which makes me really uncomfortable because I don't really want to do that. But I know, anyway, I'm sharing my kind of lead up to Sydney Marathon.
Yeah.
I'm mainly raising money for dementia for my dad.
Yeah.
Raised over $11,000 currently. Shout out to all the donors because they're amazing. And yeah, so you can follow that little journey along, I guess.
How good. When's the marathon?
31st of August.
Okay.
So come down and see it.
Yeah.
It's going to be epic. It's going to be a mad day because Kipchoge's coming, who's like the best runner in the world.
Yeah, wow.
And a bunch of like elites are coming.
Yeah.
I'll obviously be starting with all of them side by side. And yeah, it's going to be an epic. Hopefully we get good weather because
it's been fucked lately.
City to Surf was awful. But this will be exciting. And I think the more people that know about me trying to achieve this, the more my ego won't be able to wrestle not crossing that line in time. So yeah, we'll see how.
Did you run City to Surf?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. I saw the guy that won it.
Yep.
He didn't even look out of breath.
Yeah. Yeah, he was cruising. He was in front by a mile too. Yeah, they're different beasts, those runners.
Insane.
I'm not necessarily like, I ran when I was younger. I got back into it during the pandemic, but it's such an epic sport. Like the fact that you can just, wherever you are in the world, don't need much. You don't need anything. You can go out running naked if you want, which is the best thing.
Forrest Gump, just run.
Yeah.
So good. I need to dust my running abilities. I was like, I did cross country at school, and then
I could see you being a runner.
I started again, and then I'm just injury prone. Every time I fucking get into something, my fucking lower back went out of me last year. So I need to get it going again. Yeah. Because sitting down at a desk in an office, then I train 3 days a week. I might go for a surf here and there if I get time on the weekend. You need that extra thing, you know, like you need I think it's such a resets your mind as well. I feel when you run, you know, you get that runner's high. Yeah. I'm by no means a great runner. I think 5Ks I start gassing out if I was to give it a crack right now. Yeah. But I always hear people that push through that limit, you know, of not being able to run, and you get those incremental improvements every time you keep getting out there, you know?
Oh, definitely. It's a bug. But like running saved me, you know, during that kind of scale and exit. Like when I would go for a run, you know, you're pushing your body, you're breathing through stress. Like when you're kind of going for speed or you're going for long distance, you're literally trying to calm your body as it's feeling stress. And I think I would then go and sit into a board meet, and I would be able to kind of navigate those emotions so much better because I could filter them so well. Because similar to running, I could focus on my breath. I could contain that and be calm during those really high stress moments. So like, I do think everyone should try and give it a crack if they're able. It's definitely helped me a shitload.
It's a fucking powerful analogy, eh? Like breathing through stress is what running is about, and
Yeah, definitely.
you know, not giving into your inner demons and inner thoughts too quickly.
Yeah, 100%. And there's many of them, you know, in all walks of life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Before we finish up, what's happening with family life, mate? How's that shift been? It'd be a miss to not dive into that a little bit now that you're a dad.
Yeah, it's awesome. I've got a little guy called Lamont.
Hey, Lamont.
Which sounds quite French.
Yeah.
He's not French, but I do call him Lamont. Lamont's my middle name. I used to kind of be really embarrassed about it until I got older. So now I passed on the embarrassment to him.
Yeah, it's not a middle name. It's actually his first name.
It's his first name. So we call him Monty.
Oh, nice.
He's a little legend.
Yeah.
He's tough work. I think more people need to talk about how tough the first few weeks are. I think everyone's just focused on birth, and yeah, that's incredibly, insane too. But you know, he's healthy. He's got a bit of reflux, so shout out to all the parents who are dealing with that, because sad to see a little guy in pain. But yeah, it's been really challenging because he's come at the same time I've tried to launch this business, and I wanted to bring him here today and be like a really cool kind of dad, but expectation versus reality, it doesn't match up.
And we don't want him screaming in the background while also trying to get balls deep in a deep conversation.
Yeah. So no, it's been awesome, and I love it. It's cool. It's kind of just deepened my experience of life, and I'm super stoked to make him the next kind of big thing.
So good. And last but not least, where did the nickname Buddha come from?
Oh wow, it's public now, isn't it? It's so funny. There's so many random people that call me Buddha. Obviously, the ones that know my family really well. And so many people just hear it in passing. They're like, did they just call him Buddha? What the? So when I was born, I was massive. I was this huge fat piece of meat, and I had like rolls and rolls of fat on my belly, and I looked like Buddha. And so my name isn't Angus in my family. I don't think I've been called that since birth. My nickname is Buddha. It's really strange when someone I don't know calls me that, but if they're close enough, it's
now everyone's going to call you that.
Yeah.
So long as they listen to the very end of this podcast, of course.
Yeah. Shout out to anyone who has. Thank you.
That's it. Hopefully our parents are watching too. So Amanda, Greg, Amanda, and Bobby.
Yeah,
our mums have the same name.
At least we'll have 4 views.
Yeah, that's right. That's all we need. Our raving fans.
We're on our way.
Yeah. Very good. Well, mate, thanks for coming on. We'll leave it there. Yeah. It's been awesome. Sit down, uncover a lot of stuff I didn't know, and congrats on the new venture Sub 3. Congrats on being a dad. Congrats on all your success with Jack Nimble. And yeah, can't wait for you to smash that Sub 3 mark.
Thanks, Blake. Appreciate it, mate.
Cheers,
Thanks
bro.
for your time.